Daily Devotion with Pastor Balla for October 3rd, 2021 from Psalm chapter 71, Remember God in Old Age. Verse 1, In you, O Lord, do I take refuge. Let me never be put to shame. In your righteousness, deliver me and rescue me. Incline your ear to me and save me. Be to me a rock of refuge, to which I may continually come. You have given the command to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress. The psalmist begins by noting that God saves him by being that solid rock that the psalmist can depend upon, and that God protects him by like a fortress. Verse 4, Rescue me, O God, from the hand of the wicked, from the grasp of the unjust and cruel man. For you, O Lord, are my hope, my trust, O Lord, from my youth. Upon you I have leaned upon before my birth. You are he who took me from my mother's womb. My praise is continually of you. Now we start the aging process, so to speak. The psalmist knows that he trusted in God even before he was born, and he still continues to praise and trust in God. So, is it easier to believe and trust in God when one is younger? Well, when one is younger, one does indeed have maybe less distractions. Sometimes it is exceedingly challenging to believe when one actually becomes older. You see, we have seen many things in life, and we may get disillusioned. We may be asking the questions why and not see any meaning to all of this. Notice how the psalmist then continues. Verse 7, I have been as a portent to many, but you are my strong refuge. My mouth is filled with your praise and with your glory all the day. Do not cast me off in the time of old age. Forsake me not when my strength is spent. The psalmist notes that he had been a portent, and that is like a prophet, pointing people to God for the future. But what about these last days, when the psalmist is older, and the psalmist notes his very strength is spent? Very often, older people kind of give up on God, so to speak. As their bodies and strength seem to be failing, they wonder, did God fail them? It is during these times of weakness that we really need to rely on God's promises through his holy word. Why do I say that? Notice how the psalmist then continues in verse 10. For my enemies speak concerning me. Those who watch for my life consult together and say, God has forsaken him. Pursue and seize him, for there is none to deliver him. Yes, this is what the enemies think, that God has forsaken. The psalmist notes that many are playing on that idea that God has abandoned him in old age. And in old age, we may feel abandoned by many people. But the psalmist is not going to give in to the world's thinking, nor this negative thinking. The psalmist is not abandoned by God. Notice what the psalmist says in verse 12. O God, be not far from me. O God, make haste to help me. May my accusers be put to shame and consumed. With scorn and disgrace may they be covered who seek my hurt. The psalmist returns to God. Even though the world around him doesn't see much hope, the psalmist still believes and trusts in God. Join me again on Tuesday as we continue with this psalm, for on Monday we will have a special confirmation edition. God's peace and many blessings be with you, and thank you for listening. And please take an opportunity to share this message with others. If you have enjoyed these daily devotions, please consider making a donation to Peace Lutheran Church, 24024 West Main Street, Plainfield, Illinois, 60544. Thank you again for listening.